And I mean, you get comments like this that says, like, contrary to popular belief, majority of fan base is behind Ten Hag. This is the thing. When you say that, what are you basing it on? Stop spreading lies and misinformation. I mean, where have I said every single Man United fan wants him sacked? The internet loud gobs like Terry are the minority. Listen, I saw the Man United fans last night, and someone actually super chatted about it. Thoughts on the fans clapping the players. Fair play to the fans. They went to the game. They spend the money. They're an important part of football match-going fans in terms of supporting the players to get more out of them, and they make the TV viewing so much better for every single one of us around the world. So I have no disrespect towards them. They're entitled to do what they want. I understand clapping the players because I'm at a point now where, barring a handful that I think are done, I'm not angry at the Man United players. They are not playing in a system. And do you know how I know it's the system over more so than the players right now? We concede opportunities in the game that there's not about our opponents playing well. Crystal Palace were not amazing last night. They played well, good system, good structure, good intensity. They weren't amazing. We were just awful. The space we afford teams. No wonder these players look bad. And Stephen here says, like, what, Wharton over Mainoo, Højlund will never be half the player that Mateta is. Listen, that is all just bias and recency bias all rolled into one. Before the new manager came in and created this really nice looking system at Palace, who was talking about Mateta being good? Show me the posts and the comments and everything else. Forget barring Palace fans. Show me who was saying Mateta was a baller. If you'd have turned around, if I said to you guys in the summer, don't get me Højlund, go sign me Mateta, you'd have all said, shut up, Terry. So let's not rewrite history. And yeah, Mainoo is looking worse and worse as weeks go on. Of course he is. We make everybody go backwards because the system is bad. I am not angry at the players per se anymore. I'm just not. I can't be. I cannot be annoyed with no structure at the club if the quote-unquote employees struggle. Equally with Ten Hag. He should never have been given the power that he's been given. And you said it earlier, LB. And that's the bit for me that stands out. It isn't just the manager. It isn't just the players. It's the way we've been run. And look, again, I want the guy gone. I do agree with you, though, Dan. I think the only reason we haven't made a proper decision yet is Omar Barada and Dan Ashworth are still not here. They can't come because of the clubs have taken them from into the summer. So it is what it is. Super chat here says, after Ragnick, I said I won't trust this group of players again, but I fell for it and trusted them under Ten Hag. I won't make that mistake again. I see a lot of this. I want to throw this to you boys. I see a lot of this. You can't trust this group of players. They've done it to Jose, blah, 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 blah. I think only one or two players in our squad now are from the Jose era. So is it as basic as just not trusting this group of players, or is it more about the culture at the club, LB?
It's the toxicity of the club. And this is why, if you remember, how many times have I said to you, Kobbie Mainoo should think really, really careful about his next decision. And the first couple of times I said it, I was saying it just to wind up United fans. But actually, it's kind of true. It's kind of true, man. Like, United ruined everyone. Look at all the players you've had there. Ruined all the top players. If you had Di Maria, he ended up going. Rashford was a top player. He's gone. You had Pogba. He was a top player. You had so many top. Casemiro's the latest one. Like, it is. I think Gary Neville called it a retirement home or something like that. Like, it is legit. It is absolutely legit. And like I've also said that I think with this new ownership and these new people coming in, they will try and address that. But that's going to be very, very difficult to address because ultimately there's 20 odd players. And as you said before, you can't get rid of them all. You're probably going to get rid of about 4 or 5 if you max. Maybe you can get rid of a couple more if you're lucky. So it's not necessarily the players. It's the toxic environment that exists in the dressing room. And the only way you can deal with that is either by getting an authoritarian style manager who has 100% backing of the board, right? Which is very difficult because what you effectively need is, let's just say Simeone, because Simeone is the guy that everyone always throws out in that. So Simeone to come in and say to the players, right, no nonsense. It's my way or the highway. If you don't perform or you don't train or your attitude stinks, you'll be training with the kids. You'll be outcasted, and I don't care. But then what you need the board to say, yes, we agree. We know the results can be bad, but we need to sort this out. But that can go down a very, very dark path because, how many players are toxic in the dressing room? You could end up playing with the academy. You could be in the bottom half of the table. Very, very difficult. or you just try and get rid of them all. But we know that's going to be tricky because how many players are you going to be able to sell? I don't know, man. It's the toxic environment. There's no way all these players United have had over the years that we would put into a toxic bracket are actually just toxic. They've been infected with the core problem that's at United. It's not. They're not all bad people. Rashford's not a bad guy. Lingard was not a bad guy. Pogba's not a bad. All these players are not bad people. So something's going on that's making them
you are what you hang around with in life, and we've all seen these examples, whether it be in sports teams or in our social lives. You must have had a friend you got on with, and then he started hanging around with a different crowd, and within a few months, sometimes they even physically look like different people, and it's and sometimes you don't even see it happening. They could get a new job, and that kind of industry is a certain way, and people get changed. And I do think people come to Man United. It's why when I even look at Casemiro, he has got older. But I look at his fall off, and when I just sit down and calm down, am I surprised? We saw Pogba come into the team in his early mid-20s, just been in the FIFA Team of the Year. Everybody was jealous, and he came in and he had good games for us, but could never find consistency and regressed. Rashford burst through onto the scene and looked like a star in the making. He's had some good seasons, but up and down. Martial came in with the whole of France salivating over how good he was. Regressed. Bruno Fernandes came in, and in fairness, out of everybody, maintained it for about 2 years. And then again, everything started to regress. Everyone. Varane came in as Champions League Varane. Championship Varane. It's crazy. Like, honestly, every single player goes backwards for one reason or another. It doesn't mean we haven't bought some duds, because Anthony, dud as an example, but everybody goes backwards. Jadon Sancho, look at his before, during, and after when it comes to Man United. Look what he did in the Champions League semi the other day. And I just think we all can reflect back, and we've all criticized players during games and everything else, but the toxicity at the club is the most important thing to fix.
The problem you've got now, Terry, though,
the
problem you've got now, though, right, is real talk in the summer. We've got the structure. Everyone's here now. Now we need to get rid of X, Y, Z. No one's going to want them. So you're going to have to take a massive amount of hit if you sell them at all, or loan players out, because no one's going to want these players, right? The ones that you want to get rid of, I'm talking about anyway, right?
What players what players do you not think we can get rid of? Like, genuine question.
Well, okay, so you go through the ones that I believe you want to try and get rid of. I don't think you're going to get an amazing amount of money for somebody like Wan-Bissaka. I don't think you're going to get an amazing amount of money for somebody like Harry Maguire. Johnny Evans, forget that. I'm not so sure you're going to get an amazing amount for Casemiro or Varane for what you bought them for, right? So there's losses on all those players. Then you go into midfield. Scott McTominay, do you really want to keep him? Maybe you do as a squad player, but if you do sell him, you're not going to get much. Amrabat, likewise, he's not impressed. Then you move forward, Rashford. I mean, if anybody gives you anything between 25 and 35 million, I'd just take it, because the guy is mentality of a conference player, in my opinion.
But they will get some cash for Rashford, though. They will get some cash.
But that might be the only one that they get some money for.
This is one of the. I say that Rashford's a player that they could get cash for. That's one of the biggest talking points of United.
Yeah,
half the fan base want him, half the fan base don't.
Half the fan base don't, right?
I look at this. Yeah, sorry, I just want to break it down for you. So, like, Anthony Martial, Johnny Evans, their contracts end at the end of this season. Amrabat's Amrabat's gone because he's on loan. So that's 3 of this squad gone. Players whose contract ending.
He's not going to get you anything.
Anthony isn't going to go. But Varane and Casemiro, I'm not worried about. They've got suitors in the MLS. They've got suitors in the Saudi League. Because of their name and who they are, they will go, in my opinion, because of those leagues. You've then got, like, Maguire's got a year left on his deal. Eriksen, a year left on his deal. Lindelof, Wan-Bissaka, Donny van der Beek. I feel like those players, they're sellable. They're not on the most amount of salary. Like, Wan-Bissaka's on a lot. He's on 90 grand a week. I still think there'll be clubs that are more defensive, maybe, that would buy a player like him. He'd be great at a West Ham. He really would. Maybe not with their new manager, to be fair. I'm thinking more David Moyes. But he could do well elsewhere. I do think we can sell the players we can't get rid of, as you said, like someone like Anthony. I don't see. I genuinely don't see how we get rid of him. I don't see how we get rid of Mason Mount with the kind of money that he's on. Luke Shaw's here until 2027. No one's buying him because he's a crock, in my opinion. I think it's going to be hard to get rid of Onana, who I don't think. I'm at a point now where I'm pretty decided. I don't think he's good enough for us as an example. But again, if we could get rid of Casemiro and Varane, Anthony Martial's going. If you can get rid. I mean, part of me, like Sancho's probably going to go. Sancho doing well right now is good for us. He'll be someone that you can probably get off the books.
Sancho and Rashford, I'll give you them too. I'll give you them too.
Yeah, it's one of them. But
the others are just.
I think we can get rid of some. It's going to be hard though. Super chat here. So go on, Dan. Finish your point. Sorry, my mistake. Go on, finish.
No, it's fine. I mean, that was just half of what I was going to come into was obviously the plan. Then you got to try and buy. Then you got to look at who you want to buy. Right now, Manchester United fans are going to want to buy quality. The transfer market is mental. This is going to cost hundreds and hundreds of millions of pounds for Manchester United to get anywhere near, in my opinion. Because if you just say, for example, let's just take someone that you might not want this player, but let me just throw someone out there. In midfield, you might go, let's go for Onana at Everton. Let's just say you go for him. Whether you want him or not, just go with me. You go with Onana. That's going to be 55 million or something crazy like that Everton will probably want for him. Then you go and release the clause of Elise. That's 60. So now you're well over 100 million. You've only got 2 players. Manchester United need about 8 or 9. So how much money have Manchester United got and how many windows it's going to take? This is the problem we've got. This is a ridiculously hard job for Man United. This is not like, a few years ago where you go and get 5 or 6 players for like 25, 30 million and then you start building a squad like that. This is going to take a long, long time. And I just honestly think this is a horrendous time. And yes, if you've got the money and the backing, you could have a couple of windows and be like, wow, okay, we've got 7 or 8 players here now that are really going to take us forward. And we've kept a few of the squad players. But this is not going to be easy, man. And out of Europe might be what you need, man, if I'm honest. It might just be one game.
Being out of Europe, the one thing about keeping the manager as well, and I always spoke about this backstage, Danny Devil in the Details put this out there. And it's a theory, and it's one that I suppose holds some water. Man United out of Europe can spend nearly £100 million more on players than if they're in it because of the 85% cap against your income by the Premier League rules versus the 70% cap when you're in Europe. That's why it's going to be interesting if Chelsea make Europe because their cap suddenly drops even further. So there is a train of thought amongst Man United fans also like the NBA. This is what he said. These words where in the NBA it's called tanking, where you don't lose on purpose, but you don't really change too much. So you finish a bit lower than you were expected to. You get a better draft pick. There is a thought that maybe Man United are doing a bit of that. Sounds nice. It's a bit risky, though. We have got the FA Cup final. I'd still rather sack him now and bring an interim in to try and put a bit of life back into these players before we play City. Because we've got no chance of beating City. 0, in my opinion. Or as close to 0 as you can get. If you brought an interim in, you went and got Ruud van Nistelrooy or someone like that now, just for 3 weeks. There was no chance he was going to be the manager. You're here just to lift spirits, put a little basic system in play. We'd have more of a chance than we do now. But City would still be the heavy favourites by a country mile. But you are right, Dan. It's going to take a long time to fix this situation. It certainly is. Dan here says, big up, Terry. We are dog breath. A better manager who doesn't leave so many spaces has us comfortably in Europe this season. I agree. The system since Ten Hag got here has been abysmal. Players have no clue. Of course they have no clue. Ex-pros are watching the game, and I thought Ashley Young last night on Monday Night Football was trying to be respectful as an ex-Man United player and title winner. But you could tell what he was saying without saying it. He was basically saying, this isn't fucking football. What is this? He's basically saying, what is this? This is not what you trained to do. I also believe Ten Hag is gone. The sort of info won't be leaked, in my opinion. That's also very true. One thing I would say about Man United in this really bad run in the last few weeks that we've been on, there have been very few leaks of anything, which for me is a little bit of a good sign because normally so much stuff is leaking out the club. We're like a broken fucking fridge. The legacy of the Glazers' ownership running the club into the ground is much more lasting. Eric Ten Hag can salvage this under a structure of sanity, not insanity. Do any of you think you could turn it round?
Nope. but well, based off of what? Give me something to prove to me that he can turn it around. Nothing. No style. No, not even yesterday when it was going bad that he went, you know what? Let's just be solid. They were still cutting you apart in the last 30 minutes. So nah, there's nothing there. He's lost it. Once you've lost the dressing room, it's done. And the injuries thing don't wash with me. I'm sorry, man. You got injuries. You still not telling me they're getting beat 4-0 at Crystal Palace, bro. That team yesterday was not a team that gets beat 4-0. Yeah, the players have laid down, man. The players have laid down. I'm not having that for yesterday. No way.
I said on the Top 6 show yesterday that I didn't think we had laid down. Got that wrong. After the game, I was like, I can't believe I thought that. When I saw last night, it was just abysmal. It really was. Bring Ollie back, Pep's kryptonite. Listen, KJ said that the other day. 3 weeks, I honestly would take him back. Just for 3 weeks. Not longer, just 3 weeks. I have a feeling Man United are waiting for the end of the season and for how the end of the Euros are, I think he means, to get Southgate. Can you imagine? Can you imagine?
Would you rather keep Ten Hag or get Southgate?
I'd rather the club go into administration and be shut down. That would upset me less. I mean, that would literally be the definition of jumping out of the frying pan and into the fireplace. It would be awful. Goldbridge used the term of some of our players are injured to suggest they are not hurt. Was embarrassing and disgusting from him. I mean, look, I've seen that clip going around. I don't know who he's referring to because he didn't specify. But I remember Lee Gunner saying it on the show that he believes that Mason Mount this season has been feigning his injury because he didn't want to play in this bad team. I can understand players having a knock, having the ability to play, but thinking, why am I putting myself through? Why? Like, I don't want to be out there in this system, in this team looking bad. I can understand it. I don't even think it's I know Goldbridge didn't word it that way, but I can understand it. You've got a little twinge in your hamstring. I'm not saying Bruno did this because Bruno would play for anything if he could, but I've got a twinge in the hamstring. I fancy sitting out the next few weeks. I wouldn't be surprised that with the way Man United is operating, the things our players and coaches and owners have done in the last decade, if that ever came out in someone's book, would anyone be surprised if players didn't fake injury, but maybe exaggerated it because they didn't want to play? I wouldn't be surprised. I already done that super chat.